Hello, everybody. Hi. Last days of her life. This is not about that at all. It's a celebration of first the woman and secondly the world-class entertainer and her iconic performances. And it begins right here, the early years. Whitney Houston was born on August 9th, 1963 in Newark, raised in nearby East Orange. Her mother, Cissy Houston, of course, was a well-respected session singer and solo artist. You'll see her Grammys in a minute. Her cousins, Dionne Warwick and Dee Dee Warwick, were acclaimed pop artists, and close family friends were Aretha Franklin, Chaka Khan, Gladys Knight, and many more. And look at this. This exhibit begins with the childhood photos of Whitney Houston. Now, of course, the very first time that music is referenced in this exhibit, gospel music. That was so much a part. And this is very, very special here. Rare archival film of Whitney Houston singing at New Hope Baptist Church. And it's going to explain what this is, provided by two people who shot the footage back in the day. And if you could pan left, Peter, we'll see the robe that she wore, and then we'll see her in that robe. This indicates the magic of this museum. You see the artifact, you see the piece of clothing, you see the Grammy, and then you see the performance that inspired it. That is the young Whitney Houston, the teenage Whitney Houston, singing at New Hope Baptist Church. We're in the Grammy Museum, special exhibit devoted to Whitney Houston. You'll hear her music, you'll see her perform, and just below this beautiful footage of her performing as a teenager, of course you can hear it. These are headphones, and in each case you can pick up and hear her beautiful singing. Even as a teen, she was marked for greatness, and this exhibit makes that clear. Moving over here, you get a closer view of that robe that she wore. New Hope Baptist Church, the congregation there was the first to feel, see, and most importantly, hear the magic of Whitney Houston. The robe in which she performed as a teenager. Directly behind, we spoke about Cissy Houston, Whitney's mom, and here is a part of the exhibit devoted to her career, which, if we're not careful, can get obscured. This great career. She sang back of Elvis and many more. And this is tribute to that, her 2 Grammys. Below here, very, very, very important, 2 Bibles belonging to the late Whitney Houston. The top one, the bigger one, is her childhood Bible from the 1960s. And perhaps most poignantly, gone too soon, Whitney Houston, the personal Bible that she carried with her. Use of that was clearly an everyday occurrence. Beaded jumpsuit from the 1980s. And those over there to the left, those are costumes worn by Dionne Warwick and Chaka Khan, 2 artists, of course, very, very connected to Whitney Houston. She was influenced by them, and they were personal friends. Now over here, reminds me, right over here, Pete, this recalls the first time that I ever met Whitney Houston. People always say, what was that like? I met her just before the release of her very first album. She remains, with apologies to my wife, the most beautiful single woman I have ever met in person. And at the time, she was not super famous. And I came back and they said, well, what were you doing today? And I said, I met the most extraordinarily beautiful woman. She was so beautiful that she glowed. And that's the memory I have of meeting the teenage Whitney Houston. She literally glowed. And the music, of course, was extraordinary. But my first look was actually looking into those beautiful eyes and shaking her hand as a teenager. And here we see that. This is just before the woman I met. This is the young model, Whitney, the young model. Now, with all her later success, it is very easy to forget that she was on the cover of 17 magazine, that she was a fixture, that this is how she made money as a teenager, as a model, as a beautiful young woman. And here, of course, this is an early publicity picture. Now, I was just talking about the woman I met. This was the woman I met just before that picture was taken as part of the promotion for her first record. If you are just joining us, we are in a special exhibit devoted to the late Whitney Houston within the Grammy Museum, which is in turn within the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. And we're very close to where Whitney Houston grew up and very close to where she was born. And that makes this exhibit all the more poignant for me. Whitney Houston began her modeling career in 1980 at age 16. From the beginning, it says here, the camera and I were good friends. According to Whitney Houston, it loves me and I love it. Now over here, there's a couple of these. These are big monitors in which you can hear the remembrances of those who worked directly with Whitney Houston. Again, no way to make you hear this because you're here, you're at the Prudential Center, you come in and you wear these headsets. And you can listen to her earlier performances, you can listen to her later performances, and you can listen to these musicians like Narada Michael Walden, great producer, who worked with Whitney Houston. And just before we leave that section of the early years, a final panel devoted to Cissy Houston, born right here in Newark as Emily Drinkard. I didn't know that. In 1933, Cissy began her singing career as a member of the gospel group, the Drinkard Sisters. Didn't know that. Over here, of course, for those of us of a certain age, this is familiar. Remember, and some people say it's coming back, vinyl's coming back, but this was how so many of us first experienced the music of Whitney Houston, a vinyl record. Her first albums and singles, The Bodyguard, of course, is here, the famous movie. There was talk at one time that Princess Diana would play the role that was eventually played by Whitney Houston. Hard to believe, but given the iconic music from the film, given how that film has endured, we're sure glad Whitney Houston ended up playing the part. There were some discussions about Princess Diana playing that part. Whitney Houston's records, The Preacher's Wife, of course, another big, big record and movie. This is it. This is where it all started. Let's get a close shot of this, the debut. This was the woman I met, the woman from the record cover. Not 2 months after that was shot, I was shaking her hands, an experience I will literally never forget. I'll never forget how shy she seemed, how soft-spoken she was, how just her kindness, you know, at shaking the hand and being nice to a reporter just a few years older than she was at the time. And I always remember that, and I've always been struck by her stardom. You know, I've been doing this a while, and one of the things that keeps it interesting is, what is a star? The best description that I ever heard is, if I'm looking this way and a superstar like Whitney Houston walks in behind me, I'll turn around. Why? Well, that's part of the magic. And she had it in abundance, more than just about anybody I've ever met. This is Ricky Minor. You know him from American Idol, longtime musical director of American Idol, and a great session person. Now, over here is a special small section devoted to a moment that helped to define the life of Whitney Houston. Of course, I'm talking about the 1991 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 25, when Whitney Houston performed a version of the Star-Spangled Banner that Life magazine called perhaps the best ever. Perhaps the best ever. Still photos do not capture this. And if you want to have a great day, go and find this performance today online. This is a part that was devoted to her visit to the USS Saratoga. 1991, you'll recall, this is the Gulf War time. This is a very, very, very tense time in our nation's history. Whitney Houston went aboard this aircraft carrier, and they were clearly grateful because they made her an honorary naval aviator. If you're just joining us on Facebook Live, I'm Sandy Kenyon, Eyewitness News, and we're in Newark, New Jersey. We're at a Whitney Houston exhibit within the Grammy Museum, which is part of the Prudential Center here. Pete Sinanti behind the camera, and Pete, we're gonna go over here to see some terrific outfits worn by the late Whitney Houston. Performance outfit. This is a Versace from the MTV European Music Awards in 2012, a Versace outfit. I'm always struck by how slight and thin, not short, but slight and thin Whitney Houston was. Look at this. This is another outfit, performance outfit, dating from the 1990s. There's an Emmy Award. There's all sorts of awards, and down here, Garden State Music Awards, of course. Very proud of being from New Jersey. We're reflecting on the life of the late Whitney Houston. We're looking at some of the clothes she wore, and we are really close to where she was born and where she grew up. And somehow that makes this tour through the Whitney Houston exhibit that much more special, at least for me. This is a performance outfit, Mark Bauer, for I'm Your Baby Tonight. That tour from 1991. That was an outfit. Now, this is a formal dress from the 1980s, and it's surrounded by some very interesting memorabilia, presidential memorabilia. On your upper right, if Pete could get a close view of it, that is a letter from Bill Clinton, 1996. Thank you for your incredible performance at the President's Dinner. I really appreciate your support. Please know that your work will help bring our message of hope to the nation. Thank you. Your performance really made the evening special. Bill Clinton, just paraphrasing there. And then this will take you back to Whitney with much appreciation. Look at how young Bill Clinton, Whitney Houston, and Hillary Clinton look in that picture. There's another Bill Clinton below it formal dress between, but on the upper left, excuse me, that's correspondence from President George Bush, President George H.W. Bush, in 1991, now faded, clearly handwritten. And where's it coming from, that thank you letter? It's coming from Camp David, directly to Whitney Houston. Laura Bush, below, writes Whitney Houston. Presidential memorabilia, Pete's going to pull right back and take one more look at that display case. Over here is a really cool feature. In the studio with Whitney Houston, if you dare, you're going to be taking this and you're going to be singing along with Whitney Houston. I don't dare. I'm tone deaf. And if I was to sing along with Whitney Houston, all of you would just want to flee. So we don't want you to leave, so we're not going to be singing. But if you come here to the Grammy Museum in Newark, you can sing along, if you dare, with I Want to Dance with Somebody. There's a setup that allows you to do it. Call it super karaoke. This is the Hollywood side of Whitney Houston. Remember when she was in Cinderella? Look at that. That's how they do it in Hollywood. When you have a script and you're a star, they put your name in gold on the front of the script. Various awards for that. The script book for The Princess Diaries in the back with the crown. An entire display just devoted to acceptance speeches. You can hear all of it. And finally, we head to the last few panels. I know I was wondering, where are the Grammys? Her Grammys are right here in this display case. Best Pop Vocal Performance Female, I Will Always Love You. Album of the Year for The Bodyguard. We saw the cover earlier in this Facebook Live. If you missed anything, it's going to be on the website, so you can go back if you're just joining us. We're at an exhibit devoted to memorabilia of the late Whitney Houston. Her sister-in-law will be here shortly. We'll have her interview later. And this is from the estate of Whitney Houston, the Provenance. Oscar de la Renta is the designer of this red dress from 1996. And over here, this is a performance outfit made by Bob Mackie, 1994, who did all those incredible costumes for Cher. And Pete, I want you to come in here a little closer so our audience can see the very elaborate beading for which Bob Mackie was so well known. This beading, and just look how intricate the work is. It looks like a white dress from 20 Paces. It's a lot more interesting and complex up close. Now, we'll show you this performance in a minute, but I want you to come here. This is remember this tribute.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for sharing our sister Whitney with us. Today our thoughts are with her mother, her daughter, and all of her loved ones. And although she is gone too soon, we remain truly blessed to have been touched by her beautiful spirit and to have her lasting legacy of music to cherish and share forever. Amen.
Remember the tribute.
Welcome to the 54th Grammy Awards.
A tribute to Whitney Houston at the Grammy Awards. Whitney Houston, remembered at the exhibit devoted to her at the Prudential Center in Newark. We'll close right here with, if you will, the tools of her trade. A microphone designed to be worn around the head to give you that Whitney Houston concert sound. A tour book from her final, from the 2010 tour, I should say, performance outfit, and the stool she used. Gone too soon. What a lovely tribute this has been, walking around an exhibit devoted to the late Whitney Houston. I hope you feel it's been. I learned a few things, and somehow watching all of this so close to where she was born and raised has extra meaning. It's open to the public starting on Friday. Details will be on our website. So Friday, you can come down here, see for yourself. Consider this Facebook Live just a taste, just a look, just a enticement, if you will, to come on down here and look at it yourself. It has to be seen. And for a Whitney Houston fan, it's really quite priceless. For now, reporting from the Prudential Center, Grammy Museum, Whitney Houston exhibit in Newark, I'm Sandy Kenyon, Eyewitness News. Have a great day.